Howdy, 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 my name is Nachi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. Last time we read the human-shaped anomaly in space, crime scene photographs, long-range alarm clock, ancient encyclopedia, and nuclear slime. This time we're going to start with the self-repairing biological AI and go from there. Wow, that was fast. What was this called again? Yeah, that sounds about right. SCP-771 is to be held in a secure, windowless containment cell at all times. Any and all materials entering or exiting the containment area must be scanned for contamination. Containment area must be checked weekly, and any damage done by 771 is to be immediately repaired. No personnel are to enter 771's cell without full body hazmat, containment, and dangerous object handling armor. In the event of attack by it, all personnel are to immediately evacuate and seal the containment area. Subjects suffering from stings are to be left in the containment area or recovered for observation when possible. SCP-771 is a form of AI that appears to be constructed out of both organic and mechanical components. The metal components of 771 are of varied origin and composition, with several still unidentified, but many appear to be broken or damaged. Its biological components appear to be extremely decayed, appearing to suffer from some form of degenerative disease or virus, with the mechanical components acting as a form of life support. Due to this impaired state, 771 cannot function properly and can only function for short periods of time, with many errors and glitches during that time. When it undergoes an error or shuts down, a swarm of small robots are released from a hatch within it. These microbots will swarm over 771, then start to search the surrounding area. The swarm will break down any and all metal in the area and return it to 771, attempting to patch the damaged areas. These patches appear to be temporary and typically last only for 3 to 4 days. The swarm will also target any vertebrate animals during their search. Upon contact, the swarm will proceed to sting the subject, injecting a fluid that completely freezes all muscles in the body almost instantly. The fluid reacts only to the skeletal muscles and allows all organs, including the brain, to function normally. Once frozen, the microbots will move the subject into close proximity to 771 and proceed to cut off portions of tissue. The swarm will bring the tissue back to 771, attaching the pieces to pre-existing biological components. Once the subject dies, typically from blood loss after 2 to 4 days, the microbots cease their harvesting and retreat back to 771. The harvested tissue appears to immediately contract the same degenerative illness as the original tissues, and degenerate to an unusable state after 12 hours, necessitating the retrieval of additional tissues. Notes on containment. It has proven very difficult to collect samples from 771 or its swarm due to the highly aggressive and invasive nature of the swarm. It also appears to sense attack, and attempts to deactivate or damage 771 cause a highly aggressive reaction from the swarm. See Breach Incidents 1101-771, 1-14. Damn. Any action capable of disabling or deactivating the swarm will also damage 771 beyond repair and eliminate its primary form of life support. The highly complex and advanced, if damaged, nature of 771 and the paralyzing sting of the swarm have enough research application to warrant continued containment in the hopes of finding a way to deactivate the swarm without destroying 771. If they can destroy it, they probably should. In addition, information gathered from 771 has shown a possible blank in the blank, which data expunged. Text log 771-11-0B excerpt. Data collected via an LCD screen temporarily attached to the data port of 771. Questions asked by a loudspeaker. By Dr. Blank. Where are you from? From... out of garbled text. What was your design purpose? Several screens of garbled text. I don't understand. What was your design purpose? Several screens of garbled text. A tag garbled text. We want to help. Can you deactivate your defense robots? No. It is needed for continued opera. We can help you. We can repair you and restore full function. The garbled text. Mode is unimportant. Primary directive paramount. That's probably what it is. What is primary directive? Control. Control of what? What are you supposed to control? Several screens of garbled text. At this point, it shut down, and the LCD screen was quickly broken down by the swarm. Alright. Giant parasitoid wasps. Not parasitic, parasitoid. And they're Euclid. Wow. I'm pretty sure that's not what wasps do. All 772 specimens are to be contained in their 18 by 18 by 9 meter enclosure, which is contained within a 20 meter by 20 by 10 hermetically sealed chamber located at Sector 7. A maximum capacity of 15 specimens per this enclosure is advised, as exceeding this number could result in heightened levels of aggression. The chamber is fitted with a pneumatic fluoridated aluminum dispenser that may be activated remotely if an emergency euthanization of 772 is necessary, resulting in the suffocation and incineration of all 772 specimens. This emergency euthanization mechanism and all related equipment must undergo routine maintenance checks to ensure adequate performance. The interval between maintenance checks is not to exceed 7 days. 772 eggs are to be stored in a well-lit freezer at a temperature no higher than -10 degrees Celsius, which is 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Surplus/unwanted eggs are to be incinerated immediately, and the resulting debris must be examined for any signs of life. If signs of life are present, a second round of incineration is authorized. The same procedure should be applied to all expired or unneeded subjects who are or could possibly be 772 hosts. Note: personnel intending to use 772 for purposes not qualifying as research-oriented must obtain O5 authorization. Dr. Woodside. SCP-772 is a wasp of unknown species, superficially resembling members of the Megarrhiza genus. A mature adult is typically 60 centimeters in length from head to abdomen, excluding antenna, and ovipositor. This barbed ovipositor, reaching a length of up to 70 centimeters, is used to penetrate its host and deposit anywhere from 5 to 20 eggs. Eggs are typically 6 centimeters long and 2.5 centimeters in diameter. 772 is meticulous and almost surgical during oviposition. It makes an incision no longer than 3 centimeters, and the host is paralyzed and or comatose for several hours until the wound can heal sufficiently. Injected along with the eggs is a poly-DNA virus, uniquely adapted to suppress the immune system of mammals, analogous to the smaller parasitoid wasps which do the same to their caterpillar hosts. Female specimens of 772 pose a significant safety hazard, as the ovipositor is extremely sharp and maneuverable. That's a weird way to spell that. When threatened, females will use this organ as a weapon and stab the offender repeatedly. While these wounds are not always fatal, they have been reported to be acutely painful, and cases of bone penetration have been documented. Yeah. Although caution should be exercised around all specimens of 772, males lack the ovipositor, which serves as females' weapons and method of host infiltration. Females are capable of reproducing asexually via the Thylactocus parthenogenesis, and will do so in the absence of males. They require a warm, dark, nutrient-rich cavity in which to lay the eggs. It habitually deposits eggs in the abdominal subcutaneous fat of large mammals, but has been known to utilize subcutaneous fat in other regions, including the shoulder, back, hip, thigh, and data expunged. See extensive testing conducted on disposable dudes and document additional clearance required. The eggs have an incubation period of 4 to 12 days, and the length of incubation of the period is speculated to share an inversely proportional relationship with levels of host stress hormone. Upon hatching, they share an the larvae begin their consumption of host tissue, gradually working their way into the depths of the host's body. The larvae may be easily mistaken for abscesses tumors, but as 772 progresses away from the hypodermis, it appears to the observer that said abscesses tumors are diminishing of their own accord. 772 was discovered on the 4th of blank 19 blank when Professor Blank, noted entomologist of Blank University, was found disemboweled and partially devoured on his bathroom floor. Several adult 772s were found feeding on his remains and that of his 2 cats, indicating that 772 was carnivorous even after pupation. Interviews with his colleagues revealed that Professor Blank had apparently returned from the Azores Islands about 2 weeks before his death. He did not contact anyone following his arrival in the UK and did not return to the university. Professor Blank had been conducting research in remote areas of the Azores for months at a time, and had little contact with anyone during his absence. He recorded data and personal reflections in a series of journals, 2 of which were found on site. Relevant and or noteworthy excerpts have been transcribed and included for post-mortem analysis. Page 52. Finally, after months of fruitless searching and conducting the same mundane tests on local vegetation and perfectly ordinary insect life, I found something. And it could be a discovery the likes of which I have sought after all of my life. Something undocumented, something unheard of. That rare moment which I am sure Stellar and Darwin and all the rest took for granted. The feeling that you might actually be witnessing something new. Well, not new. Something ancient, really, but new to human eyes. Looking back in time or into the future of natural selection. It's like what Arthur Conan Doyle or Jules Verne wrote about in their stories. Only it's bloody real. Lord, I know I am a scientist, but even George would be excited about this. You see this, George? I hope by the time you read this lovely little memento, I've won an award I can wave in your face. Passion and dedication matter. It's not just about lab work. It's about risking malaria and dysentery and sleep deprivation and even death. I dare say it's all worth it now. Those larvae are at least 10 centimeters long. Page 58. I've taken the carcass back to my campsite. It may not be entirely hygienic to keep about, but this will allow me full-time observation of the larvae. I almost feel guilty dragging the thing back here, but there's nothing for it. Reminds me of how I felt back in my undergraduate studies, when I didn't want to drown those helpless rats. Ah, well, this fellow was already dead and must have been for some time without anyone going to look for him. Page 60. I've examined it all very closely, and it seems I'm fortunate to have stumbled upon the larvae at all. They've all retreated as deep as they can within the body, seeking the darkest, tightest nooks and crannies, as if prematurely exposed. And I folded the skin back into place, or at least what's left of it, and now I see that he's split open by a very even, clean-cut slash. The larvae weren't the ones responsible for the wound, a knife was, or some sort of blade. I'm going to be well pissed off if this corpse is a piece of murder evidence. I don't think they bother with that sort of thing as much out here, but I'm going to make sure no one finds this body. Not about to lose my discovery. Page 75. They're in cocoons now. I think my original suspicion is correct. There's some sort of... that word. Text scribbled and illegible. Although this is fairly uncharacteristic of me, I'm spending more energy on worrying than data collection. I've returned to the place I found the body originally, and what do you know? The murder weapon's sitting right there. I hadn't noticed it before. It's a big machete, still has dry blood on it. I'm frightened because if anyone finds me, they might think I killed him, and then I might not be the one awarded for all my recognition. Or all the recognition. Definitely not contacting the authorities. Well, can you blame me? One murder investigation is nothing compared to the implications this wasp has for science. Page 82. It's been a fortnight already. I'm dying of anticipation, and it's not exactly smelling like roses in camp with this corpse lying about. When will the buggers pupate? Page 85. Good Lord, I'm thrilled! I feel like a proud father. They finally emerged. Luckily, I had constructed an enclosure around the carcass a week ago, because they're bloody enormous! This is a truly prehistoric caliber. They're colorful, yellow and red, positively stunning. Their exoskeleton is unlike any I've ever encountered. When they fly against the walls of their enclosure, the wire actually bends! And it's really thick wire, too. They use such force and don't seem to suffer any injuries. The exoskeleton must be extraordinarily tough. And the ovipositors of the female is incredible. 60 to 70 centimeters if you can believe it, but I can't record all of this in two places. Consult my data notebook, page 89. Rather worried? Nights have been particularly windy as of late, and they've finished off the corpse. Confounded, don't know how it's possible, but they've eaten the hair and bones. They act with extreme aggression towards anything that moves, including myself, and the thudding as they bang against the walls is becoming rather unnerving. This portion of the text is stricken out. I don't honestly know how much longer the enclosure will hold in a portion of stricken text. I'm surprised the enclosure's held up this long, especially with the wind blowing like this. I don't know what to do. I can't risk losing them, but if I leave to get help in town, they could break free while I'm gone and be gone forever, and text is scribbled and illegible. Fuck. Bloody fuck, writing scribbling across all pages. It ties so forceful the pages are torn. Well, damn it all, I've written data and some photograph sketches and things, but it's all rubbish compared to the real thing in it. Suppose I'm lucky I survive, but the devil can take me for all I care, because I've lost my evidence, and now no one will believe me. They'll say I'm mad. Tamper with a photo of an ordinary wasp. I feel ill just writing this, and not only because I've lost the discovery of a lifetime. I seem to have contracted some wretched disease there, either from the water or from contamination from the bloody corpse or mosquitoes or parasites, or who knows what the devil. Text scribbled and illegible. Vomiting, stomach pains, and chest pains, the likes of which you cannot imagine. I suppose whatever I've come down with has only exacerbated my acid reflux. Would have been better if I'd killed them all, so no one could find them. But can you believe my pistol wasn't enough? Thud, bloody thud, I heard the bullets flatten as they struck, completely useless. Woke up in the middle of the night and my side was aching and the enclosure was just a pile of wood and wire and the air was alive with humming. I grabbed this journal and jumped in my truck, but I don't know how I managed to escape. I just remember shooting as I ran, and even inside the truck they punctured the glass. I saw stingers huge and thick at one end, fine and sharp as needles at the other, jabbing just inches from my face, wings beating wildly against the windows as the glass weakened and cracked. I nearly crashed into a dozen trees trying to find the path leading to the road, but I found it. To think I cleared the path because I was too lazy to walk the road. It saved my life. At some point I heard a sickening noise and my stomach churned, but I managed to duck my head below the steering wheel, and I was showered with glass and was stabbed a few times on my back and arms, both by shards and stingers, but I put the pedal to the floor and I managed to outpace the wasps. Bloody poetic. Now I can be a fiction writer instead of a goddamn world-renowned scientist. I scribbled manically illegible. I don't want to believe it, but I can't sleep at night, and I know why I feel this way. How could I not know? It should have been obvious earlier on, and I considered the possibility, but I didn't want to write it down and admit it might be happening. If it is truly happening and I go to the hospital, I could die on the table, and someone else might take the credit for discovering them. I think it is happening, though, and I'm taking loads of painkillers each day and drinking myself silly. It is happening, you dim-witted sod. Lord, the pain, remember me as a weeping child, but know that humans are not meant to endure this pain. I discover them, they are mine! I will die for science, but not in obscurity. Name them after me. You did not bear them like children, you pathetic, spineless data expunged. Wasn't murdered, cut himself open. Me too. Addendum 1. After conducting numerous tests on the larval stage, we concluded the following. The larvae are sensitive to bright light and temperatures lower than 21 degrees Celsius. When confronted with either for a prolonged period of time, the organism retreats into a state of deep hibernation and near death. It is able to live for months at a time in this manner, possibly indefinitely, until conditions once again prove favorable for its environment. Larvae saliva contains a digestive enzyme which aids in the decomposition and consumption of host tissue. Larvae respond positively to host stress hormone, exhibiting increased energy levels, accelerated consumption rate, and expedited growth. Addendum 2. After conducting numerous tests on the adult stage, we have concluded the following. When given the choice between a live cow and a human corpse, it deposits its eggs in the live cow 100% of the time. When the larvae require living tissue to require living tissue to survive, or the choice is merely preferential on the part of the mother, is not yet known. When given the choice between a live cow and a live human, they deposit their eggs in the live human 84% of the time, tapping its antennae vigorously against both subjects' skin before making a decision. 772 will do the same when confronted with several human subjects, sometimes performing its tapping ritual up to 5 times on each individual. The criteria for which Subject 772 selects are not yet known, but there seems to be a correlation between its preference and clearance level 3 772 required. Further research is planned. Note, spexophobic disposable dudes may prove instrumental in 772 data collection. 772 appear to be carnivorous, and in resource-deficient environments, cannibalistic. Males will attack and kill small mammals, rabbits and cats, but mainly scavenge whatever remains they can find, including larger prey items killed by females. The males can be seen swarming to the location of a female's kill, and she may tolerate their presence in limited numbers. When a critical threshold has been reached, she will attack the males until they retreat, sometimes killing and eating individuals too slow to escape. Consult document 11W for more information and hypotheses concerning 772 interspecies interaction. Both sexes are highly resistant to firearms, incendiary devices, and insecticides. Asphyxiation by oxygen-deficient air has proven uniformly successful. Microscopic analysis has revealed that the exoskeleton is not primarily chitin, as with other insects, but a complex matrix of chitin, hydroxyapatite, and a fullerene hitherto undocumented. Further research is planned. Okie dokie, that was a long entry. Now for the voodoo dartboard. Which is safe. I feel like those wasps should have been Keter and... I just dropped a pair of scissors. I feel like the wasps should have been Keter and the computer should have been Euclid. Because they can definitely destroy both these things, but the wasps are like infinitely harder to kill, it sounds like. 773 requires no special containment procedures at this time, and is to be held at site blank and secure storage until further notice. 773 is a standard English-style dartboard with a diameter of 451 millimeters. It is divided into the standard 20 segments and an inner and outer bullseye ring, along with the standard double and triple bands. 773 was acquired by Agent Blank from a Mr. Blank of Gloucester, England residence, after an anomalous police report came to the attention of the Foundation. Mr. Blank was found dead in his home with several ruptured blood vessels and a heart attack which proved fatal. Police were unable to identify any cause of death. After investigation into the death by Agent Blank, it was discovered that the dartboard in his study had been acquired from the organization known as Marshall Carter and Dark Limited recently, after wiring a large sum of money to the organization 3 weeks prior. Upon recovery of the object, a set of instructions were recovered from a panel in the rear of the board, which also contains a set of diamond-tipped darts with a space to insert small strips of paper. The instructions were handwritten and signed Mr. Blank. According to the instructions, when a dart is thrown onto the board from a distance of at least 3 meters and the name of a person written upon the dart, it will cause harmful injury to that person, depending on where the dart impacts the board. The higher the number on the board, the more severe the injury, ranging from a simple sprain of the elbow to as severe as a complete rupture of the aorta. The instructions explicitly state that the person must be written clearly on the dart, and that the rules are observed, or the detrimental effect will occur to the thrower. This effect occurs in triplicate according to the standard British Dart Organization rules before another person can be selected by another player to be injured. Double and triple bands incur ill effects based upon the base score they multiply. After significant experimentation, all of these effects have been confirmed by Foundation staff using disposable dudes. It was also discovered that it would not affect any person more than 30 meters from the board itself. Addendum. After significant experimentation and the use of a mechanical throwing arm, the segments of dartboard have produced the following injuries: slight finger pain in the right hand, immediate shoulder tension in the shoulder muscles, a minor headache, a slight rash on the left ankle, treatable with normal anti-rash over-the-counter creams, a strain of the tendons in the right knee, ingrown toenails for several months, data expunged, slight swelling of the left hand, a fever for several days, treatments are ineffective at breaking it. Rupturing of the flu vessels in the sinuses leading to heavy bleeding from the nose, rupturing of blood vessel in the upper chest, strain of the Achilles tendon, laceration of the esophagus, herniated disc, dislocation of the right shoulder, a portion of the lung becomes punctuated with a rib, cranial swelling, a fracture of the tibia, a compound fracture of cranium, a non-fatal aneurysm, a fatal heart attack, a coughing fit leading to rupture of a membrane in the throat. Damn. Whistle bones. I was about to say, better not be keter. A clean skull from subject 774-6 in early stages of exposure. All supplies of 774 are to be kept in sealed metal barrels designed for hazardous chemical waste. Subjects are to be maintained on hospital beds kept alive via Procedure 17A. 774 is a byproduct of the halogen azide redacted when processed redacted. When in contact with the skin, it permeates the body's tissue and selectively attacks bone, dissolving the bone mineral and leaving only the soft collagen. This can occur in minutes or over the course of days, depending on the degree of exposure. The only bone that is not affected by the initial reaction is the skull. However, shortly after the other bones begin dissolving, the anomalous properties of 774 manifest. Calcium leached from the rest of the body is deposited on the skull, creating grooves and ridges that grow from the interior and exterior surfaces of the skull, forming symmetrical patterns of an increasing complexity that intrude into neighboring tissue, eventually erupting from the skin or growing to meet other bone tissue. These eventually fuse the bones of the skull, rendering the mandible immobile. The largest pattern observed so far is 2 meters across, induced by Procedure 17A. An investigation into whether the effects of 1808 instances involve a variant of this phenomena is ongoing. Intrusions in the sinus cavities created whistling sounds in the subject's breathing, which rapidly change pitch and tone, though each skull has a different set of tones. The effect is similar to birdsong. While subjects affected by 774 are unable or unwilling to communicate, their heart rate and breathing becomes more regular when able to hear other late-stage subjects. Say Addendum 2. And it's actually in here. Cool. Subjects typically expire following the collapse of the rib cage or damage to the spinal cord due to the loss of the spine. However, artificial supports can be implemented as per Procedure 17A, prolonging life. Subjects kept alive after the complete loss of non-cranial skeleton can be induced to further growth by implanting new bone material. Subject 17 has been kept alive 12 years at the time of this writing. Trace amounts of 774 are still found in 17's bloodstream, though it is unknown if it is manufactured or if it remains from the initial exposure. See Addendum 3. Addendum 1. Dr. Mann was able to induce growth in specific directions through careful breaks and cuts in the bone tissue. However, after several weeks, the new growth was destroyed and the former pattern reasserted itself. Addendum 2. Analysis of the whistling shows distinct patterns, some of which have been mapped to specific external stimuli. Dr. Mann has requested permission to vivisect a 774 subject for the purposes of examining continued function of the linguistic centers of the brain. Addendum 3. Subject 24 was isolated from other test subjects. After several weeks in its several weeks in which its whistling grew more agitated, starting producing viscous fluid from the tips of its protrusions, which proved to be further quantities of 774. 2 researchers working in the room were affected. Once they progressed to the whistling stage, the bones stopped producing the fluid. Their pattern were identical to 17 and 21 respectively, including range of whistles. They were termed subjects 26 and 27 following procedure 17A. Dr. Mann has decided to keep them isolated for the time being. Following a renovation of Site Blank, subjects 24, 26, and 27 were placed into containment with the other subjects. Shortly after, the growths of 26 and 27 began to rapidly reshape, bone being subsumed and reformed into different patterns, including whistles. Subject 26 is now identical to the terminated 25, while 27 shows a new growth pattern entirely. I guess we don't get to find out what Procedure 17A is. Probably for the best. I don't really want to read about hungry ticks, but there it is. And the hungry ticks are keter. Because of course they are. Interaction with 775 is to be carried out via robotic assistance whenever possible. Should direct human interaction be required, all staff must wear the Mach 2, I assume that's Mark 2, contained atmosphere armored hazmat suit at all times. Should any terror be found in a suit, the subject must be immediately placed in quarantine and checked for signs of infestation. Containment area must be coated in a layer of plate steel with all joints and seams made as tight as possible without compromising structural integrity. A 2-part airlock seal is to be maintained as the single access point to the containment area. Airlocks will be flooded with bleach if any unit of 775 is detected within the airlock, and remain flooded for 5 minutes or until all 775 have been terminated. Containment area is to be sprayed with bleach on a monthly basis to maintain population density. Feedings are not to exceed twice data expunged, provided only at the discretion of Site Command. 775 appears to be an arachnid of the order Isodida, more commonly known as the tick. It is of a significantly larger size, with most unengorged adults reaching a size comparable with a US nickel. Yeah. Coloration varies between black, red, yellow, gray, and various shades of each. Adults possess 8 legs, while juveniles possess only 6. 775 is capable of making small leaps and travels very rapidly along solid surfaces. It shares the trait of a flexible body structure, but is much more robust than the common tick. Capable of surviving crushing, cutting, and tearing with little to no damage, and capable of flattening out to slide through 0.25 centimeter gaps. It is also capable of swelling up to 4 times its original size during feeding, although this does slightly hamper its ability to move. The legs of 775 are also very strong, and are capable of damaging concrete over time. 775 feeds in a manner similar to the common tick, but more extensive. It injects both an enzyme to increase blood flow and one that begins to liquefy other tissues. This enzyme will attack all tissues except those making up the layers of skin. 775 will then eat the blood and liquefy tissue until it is totally engorged. It will then lay an egg sac containing 20 to 30 new 775 on or near the host subject and then resume feeding. It will carry on any vertebrate animals, or feed on any vertebrate animals, and will continue to feed and reproduce on the host until it is no longer capable of providing nutrients. Young 775 will often burrow under the skin in an attempt to feed on liquefying tissues directly. Hosts will eventually be fully hollowed out with only the outer layers of skin remaining. They will then fill the skin with eggs and then depart to find a new host. Hosts in advanced stages of infestation are described as taking on a bloated or misshapen form many times with multiple 775 attached to many places on the body. Nest skins are often filled to the maximum capacity that the skin is capable of holding. 775 is capable of reproducing offspring 2 days after hatching, with eggs taking 24 to 30 hours to hatch on average. This accelerated life cycle and ability to resist most forms of physical damage caused 775 to undergo an almost continuous population explosion. Bleach appears to be effective in controlling 775, with most dying after several minutes of being submerged. Notes on recovery. It was first encountered data expunged. The Stoll family appears to have been the first infected. Recovery teams found only an adult male and juvenile female still living in the home, presumed to be blank age blank and blank age blank Stoll. Both were in very advanced stages of blank infestation, making identification difficult. Most members of 775 appear to be attached to the hands, feet, face, and abdomen of the subjects. The remaining family members were found in the basement, being used as nests by 775, with one of the skins already burst and discarded. Several thousand units of 775 were present in the home, and it is unknown if the subjects used as nests were transported to the basement by 775, the remaining family members, or expired there naturally. Evidence from data expunged to be destroyed. However, records will be kept for secured reference. Definitely sounds like they should find a way to just destroy this entire species. But I'm not the Foundation, I'm just reading about it. That being said, this has been Nashi Sasuke. That was episode 164 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next episode, we're going to be doing the Youth Cult, the Kingdom of Sand, Paradise Falls, Brownies, and Seed Bead. If you liked it, a like and subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later!